Today I'm going to bring you 5 players I can't stop drafting in my rookie drafts. These players I see have either instant opportunities, a great pathway for a fantasy life, and so much more. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know which player you can't stop drafting in your rookie draft. And as always, before we get into it, vlogfantasy.com/land is the best way to support what Zach and I are doing here. If you want our articles, our rankings, our bonus content, and so much more, and from other content creators, go to vlogfantasy.com/land. Not only you get that, you get our fantasy hotline, where you can contact us and access any fantasy questions and a dynasty team graded. Go to vlogfantasy.com/land. Get 30% off at sign up and a 2-day free trial. You don't want to miss out. Let's get straight into the video. My first rookie that I can't stop drafting in my rookie drafts is Jonathan Mingo. He is phenomenal. The more research I do, the more I fall in love with him. He was selected with the 39th pick in the second round. He is 6'2", 220 pounds, ran a 4.46 at the NFL Combine. And I'll be completely transparent. Mingo wasn't a guy that Zach and I really, did our homework on. We could only do so much. We only did, 15 to 20 wide receivers, and Mingo wasn't on that list. And we always say, if there's somebody that does get the capital that we haven't really done our true scouting on, we're going to have to go do our homework. And that's what I did here. And I'm trying to understand who Mingo is and why he was taken with such high capital. And let me tell you why I can't stop drafting him now. Number one, the situation. He goes in and stepping into a fantastic instant workload opportunity here with a wide receiver room that is not the best. And, we have aging wide receivers, guys on prove it deals and all along. And let me remind you who's there, right? Adam Thielen, 32, undrafted wide receiver. But obviously they did pay him the money. They traded for him or picked him up for the Minnesota Vikings to acquire Adam Thielen. DJ Chark, they picked him up in a 1-year prove it deal. He was a late round second pick in 2018. So that's higher draft capital that Mingo has. Terrace Marshall, still an unproven talent, didn't have the best opportunity coming in when he came into the league, but he was a late second round pick in 2021. And I'm not even going to go into Laviska Shenault and Shi Smith, but that's the wide receiver room Jonathan Mingo is walking into, where I will feel really confident in trying to acquire him. And the second thing is the capital and the pathway, and what I truly believe could happen for Jonathan Mingo and the Carolina Panthers, right? This was a second player that Frank Reich and his new staff have gotten, right? They have really high hopes and a pathway for him. Not only did they draft Bryce Young, but they draft Jonathan Mingo, the first offensive weapon for Bryce Young. And I think that's really, really important, especially when you think of rookie mini camps, OTAs, training camp as a whole, right? They have chemistry. They come in and they go through this whole process together. They lean on one another. And I think that's exactly what's going to be happening here. So for Mingo to grow with Bryce Young in this offense, I think it's going to be phenomenal. And we're going to be seeing a really, really true growth of Jonathan Mingo. Now, when you think of his production profile and the traits, I think that's where a lot of people say, well, Mingo has a talent, but the production profile is not there. Now, I kind of want to bring that to, kind of bring some ease to you if you are a Jonathan Mingo lover, and saying, well, he never had that workload. Excuse me. So he has 51 receptions, 87 targets, 861 yards, and 5 touchdowns in 2022 at Ole Miss. Once again, doesn't have the production profile, but the traits is what really stands out. And I think what can bring him and excel him into the next level and open a window of opportunity to be a really good fantasy wide receiver. The yards after the catch ability is there for Jonathan Mingo. His 861 yards at Ole Miss in 2022, 43% of those yards were yards after the catch. He made defenders miss. He had missed tackles. He's gotten in space and created space for all those yards after the catch, what I think is phenomenal. Despite his production, Mingo is a better player than what he appears. Okay, Mingo's success rate against coverage are all above average, which has flashes of really great hands, really great route running, really great ability to, once again, yards after the catch and make people miss. According to Matt Harmon's reception perception, I really encourage you guys to kind of check that out, and you'll probably see some graphics on the screen here. But what's very, very similar, a player that is very, very similar to Jonathan Mingo, who was a 4th round draft pick, was Amon-Ra St. Brown. And the exact same, very similar numbers in the success rate on routes and coverages, which I find very, very interesting when it comes out, and intriguing when it comes to someone like a Jonathan Mingo. If Amon-Ra, who had a similar coming into the NFL league with a lot of doubt into him, and same thing with Jonathan Mingo, well, obviously maybe not with the draft capital, the pathway is there, especially going into a situation that is clear, right? I know with Amon-Ra, there was TJ Hawkinson, really just TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift. Who else was going to be there at the time, right? I'm pretty sure they had Chalk there, and that didn't really work out. DJ Chalk was going to be something, but this is exactly what Jonathan Mingo is, and what he can bring. His ability to, with the yards after the catch, his athleticism, his hands, right, I think is also very phenomenal in the draft capital. And this is why he is my wide receiver 5 in my rookie draft, in my rookie wide receiver rankings. Obviously the top 4, JSN, in no particular order, of course, JSN, Quentin, Addison, Zay, and then Jonathan Mingo. All those guys are my top 5, right, are in the top 5, which is really exciting. And this is why I can't stop drafting it, because the traits, the opportunity is all lining up to be a successful fantasy wide receiver. And a lot of people I've seen all around the league and in the industry have compared him to AJ Brown, have compared him to Brandon Ayuk, and I have seen, you can see the glimpses of that in his film, especially with his athletic traits, but the production profile is not something that really brings you at ease. I would say let's not get too hyped on that. Let's really invest into what we're seeing with this offensive coordinator, with Frank Wright, with Bryce Young, and now with Jonathan Mingo. So once again, a guy that I can't stop drafting in my rookie drafts, and I think you guys should be getting, is Jonathan Mingo, who's currently right now going into the early second round, the 201 to the 204, and sometimes he falls into the middle with like 205 to the 208. So if you can get him in anywhere in that range, that is a perfect pickup. Go get Jonathan Mingo. My second player on my list that I can't stop drafting is Michael Mayer. And I think he's getting a little bit disrespected right now in some of our rookie drafts and the rookie drafts that I've been seeing in the community. But he was selected with the 35th pick in the second round, going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And one of the reasons why I can't stop drafting, well, there's a lot of reasons why I can't stop drafting him, but the first one is the situation. He's stepping into a fantastic situation. He is one of the 2 offensive weapons that have been drafted in the past 2 years. And when I'm saying passing weapons in the past 2 years, okay, obviously the second one is Trey Tucker, and he got drafted in the later rounds for the Raiders, but in my opinion is not really a threat. No offense to Trey. In 2022, they drafted Zamir White, Brenton Brown. Obviously those are 2 offensive players, but they were obviously they're running backs, and we've kind of know that Josh Jacobs is going to be leading that backfield for the Raiders. Number 2 is the opportunity. Right, we know Devontae Adams is there. He's a bull hog. There's no doubt he's going to be getting his share and everything. But what I really want to focus on is really, like, I guess, Jacoby Myers and Hunter Renfrow. And I'm pretty confident that Michael Mayer will demand targets. And it's not that they're going to take away targets away from Michael Mayer. I think they're going to take away targets from each other when I mean Hunter Renfrow and Jacoby Myers. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. But let me also remind you that there are a lot of vacant targets for the tight end position. Waller is gone. Obviously, he's with my beloved New York Giants. Foster Moreau, he's out with that injury, unfortunately, or that sickness, which is really unfortunate for him. And Michael Mayer is walking into 101 plus targets going into the 2023 season. That's going to be available for the tight end position. And is he going to be getting 101 targets day 1, year 1? Absolutely not. Maybe he gets 50 to 60 receptions and maybe 80 targets. It really depends on how this offense looks with Josh McDaniels. And I think that's a good segue to my third option, is a history with the tight end position and Josh McDaniels. If there was a perfect match, a perfect fit for a tight end and Josh McDaniels, it is Michael Mayer. It is this big body guy that can block and catch the ball in the middle of the field. We've seen the success of those tight ends. Rob Gronkowski. Okay, I mean, we've seen, obviously that was with Tom Brady. Let me bring you a more recent tight end that was also a very similar build. Hunter Henry in 2021, the year right before Josh McDaniels leaves to the Las Vegas Raiders. They go out and acquire Hunter Henry. And do you remember that year in 2021? He finished as the top 10 tight end, excuse me. Over 9 touchdowns, 75 targets, 50 receptions. He was doing his thing. He was second amongst tight ends that year in touchdowns. he was getting work, and once again, very similar builds. When you probably see on your screen, Hunter Henry versus Michael Mayer, 6'5", both 6'5", both nearly 250 pounds, both drafted in the exact same draft pick years apart, and both ran a very similar 40 time. This is the perfect fit for Josh McDaniels. He's probably seeing that. He's saying, I'm getting a Hunter Henry younger, a younger Hunter Henry. And that's exactly what you want. And that's exactly what the Raiders have gotten. Let me also remind you that they're going to be linking up with Jimmy G. Who has Jimmy G supported in the tight end position? George Kittle, who is also a fantastic blocker and threat in the middle of the field. So, and mind you, Jimmy G safety blanket has always been the tight end position, has always been George Kittle in the middle of the field, has always targeted him and looked for George Kittle. Yes, Jimmy G does spread the ball around, but he loves to target the tight end position. I think that is what a lot of people are disregarding, and maybe this may be a 1 year thing with Jimmy G, but you expect how whatever quarterback that comes in, and with the draft capital with Michael Mayer in the early second round that did fall, which we were all expecting to go in the first, unfortunately, and didn't, is still going to be part of this offense moving forward. And then you also have to remember Davante Adams could be walking soon. You know, what happens if he wants to leave? He's saying this team's not winning. I know you're getting the bag, but he wants to go win on a different team, or he retires soon. I would say he probably retires in 3-4 years, which is a little bit different. But Mayer is set. He's with the Las Vegas Raiders. He has an opportunity to get, 50, 70 plus targets in the first year of his career. And maybe he does finish as a top 12, top 10 tight end. Obviously, that may be high praise in year one, especially for a tight end. But I think it's good. And he's going around the 203 right now. I think the 201, 202, 203, all feel really comfortable. If you can get him in the middle of the second, that is an absolute steal. So if you guys can, please go out and draft Michael Mayer. My third player that I cannot stop drafting, which is a really good dart throw, I believe, in the middle of the third round, or maybe even fourth round, depending on where he falls. Kayshon Kayshon Boutte. Yes, he is my guy right now in this take. Selected 187th pick in the 6th round, going to the New England Patriots. I know a lot of people have been fading Kayshon Boutte with everything that's happening, right? The off-field issues, the on-the-field issues, the attitude issues, the party issues, right? And the combine issues, right? He had a terrible combine, ran a terrible 40, had a terrible vertical jump. It just was all bad leading up to for the whole. It was bad year for Kayshon Boutte. Maybe we can sum it up that way. It wasn't good whatsoever. But the reason why I want to be drafting him and taking these dart throws on some of these players in these middle of the third rounds or fourth round is because a lot of the situation and opportunity they can step into. So the first one is a situation. If there was a place that Kayshon Boutte can go to and someone can smack him straight and be like, you need to get your your stuff ready on the field and off the field, that is Bill Belichick. That is someone that's going to bring discipline and nourishment into Kayshon Boutte's life. And that's exactly what he needs. And I feel really, really happy as a Kayshon Boutte, I guess, hopeful believer that he can land into a spot where he has somebody to kind of mentor him and bring him up. The second one obviously is opportunity, right? There's a oddly enough a pathway for Kayshon to get onto the field sooner rather than later. They did just sign Juju Smith to a 3-year deal, and you assume that he's going to be taking Jacoby Myers targets. Tyquan Thornton, rookie Tyquan Thornton is there, who barely saw action on the field with only 22 receptions this past year. Devontae Parker I won't be surprised if he doesn't make this team. He's a 30-plus-year-old Devontae Parker, only got 22 receptions as well. And then Kendrick Bourne, who was about 28, 27 years old, only 35 receptions. There is room for Kayshon Boutte to see at least 40 to 50, maybe % snaps on the field with some targets. Maybe he did start off with 22 receptions or 30, 40 receptions, but there's a pathway for growth. There's a pathway for opportunity here. And we've seen the injury history with Juju. We've seen the injury history with Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne. And there's no one else on this depth chart to really help and step up. And if Kayshon Boutte does stay healthy on the field and some of these other guys don't, then Kayshon Boutte steps into an opportunity to be someone someone for Mac Jones, whether that's an outside guy, whether that's someone that can play in the slot. We know Kayshon Boutte is a very versatile wide receiver that can kind of do both. And honestly, I think he's extremely faster than the 40 that he ran at the NFL Combine. It's just, once again, a very bad day. I'm willing to take that chance in the 3rd or 4th round, depending on where he goes. And once again, this NFL draft wasn't the best. These wide receivers didn't get the best draft capital. These running backs didn't get the draft capital. So we called the, from the 2-9 onwards, all the way to the 4th round, dart throw city. That's really it, because at that point, you're just going with guys that you're hoping that's going to get opportunity, and Kayshon Boutte is one of them. So don't sleep on Kayshon. There's definitely an opportunity for you to go out and acquire him, once again, 3rd or 4th round. Get booty. My 4th player I cannot stop drafting, literally cannot stop drafting in my rookie drafts, is Tank Dell. I already drafted him in 2 leagues so far, the many leagues that I'm in. He was selected with the 69th pick in the 3rd round, going to the Houston Texans. Staying in Houston, shout out to Tank. Lucky for him, staying home. I'll be completely transparent with you. Tank wasn't a guy that, Zach and I were really excited for. We have a joke saying that's Zach on the field, right? 5'8", 165 pounds. I mean, you expect once he gets hit or popped by a defender, he's done for the season, right? I mean, it's scary when you think of a smaller wide receiver like Tank going onto a field with what we know in the NFL. Well, that being said, the breakout was there for Tank in the Senior Bowl. There was a lot of high praise in the Twitter sphere, in the fantasy community. He was getting praise for his route running, his small area quickness, his burst, his ability to make defenders miss. And that's exactly what Tank does well, right? And we've seen that. I know a lot of people did have a lot of questions when it comes down to, okay, what about when he goes up on press, against press, and, they're pressing him on the line? Surprisingly enough, according to Matt Harmon's reception perception, we have that information. He was in the 83rd percentile, meaning that he had a 73.9 success rate versus press coverage. That is wild to think of, and that makes me think of his route running ability is really good and above average, and his quickness is also really good and above average, which makes guys that press him, he can get to the second level. He can get and break through his routes. He can make defenders miss, which is phenomenal. Once again, really, really incredible resource over there with Matt Harmon, so definitely go check that out. Number 2 is the opportunity that he's stepping into. Right, he's going to the Houston Texans, who really don't have a lot of playmakers. I mean, we can really only name one, and that's John Mechie. At least we hope and expect John Mechie to be a playmaker with everything that we know him coming out of college. He did tear his ACL in college, has leukemia, so hopefully he is back stronger coming into this year. Roberto Woods is also there, who couldn't even beat out Nikiti Westbrook-Akini over there with the Titans. So I'm not necessarily worried about him. And Nico Collins just hasn't shown much, unfortunately. I love Nico, but there's also more competition for him, which a guy that's going to be on the list as well, my last guy on this list. So definitely stay tuned for that. This leads me to believe Tank is going to be the primary slot receiver, the main decision for CJ Stroud. And let me tell you why. The reports and praise that have been coming out for Tank by CJ is phenomenal. If you guys haven't seen the interview, I have tweeted out. I'll probably link the tweet here. Go on my Twitter. Shout out, follow me on Twitter. He tells a story where, they had a nice little chemistry. They kind of built a relationship during the NFL Combine when they were throwing the ball. He was running routes with CJ. CJ compliments Tank and says, "Hey, great route running. I like your work. I like everything you do." And the draft day comes. He gets drafted. CJ gets drafted. Tank sends a message to CJ and says, "Hey, man, congratulations." He was like, yo, tell him to come and get me. And CJ goes, I'll do it. He's like, for sure. CJ calls him and says, "Yo, I told him to take you. You're about to get picked." So he's going to the Houston Texans, and CJ hooks him up, and now they're teammates together. I think that's a phenomenal story. Already have the chemistry at the Combine, going to build the chemistry more in rookie OTAs leading up to the season. Once again, not a huge competition for Tank Dell and everyone else, which I feel really comfortable with. And there's no doubt he's going to be the primary slot receiver there. Once again, John Mechie can move inside or outside. I think this is a perfect scenario. You can get him at the end of the third. I got him at the 312, as you can see, and then at the 4-2 in 2 of my rookie drafts so far. Why not take a flyer on a guy, a third round guy going in the 3rd or 4th round of your rookie drafts? I am happy to take Tank Dell every single time in my drafts, without a doubt. So get him. And leading up to my last player, which is the 5th player on this list, who's also teammates with both CJ Stroud and Xavier Hutchinson, and Tank Dell, spoiler alert, is Xavier Hutchinson, right? Xavier Hutchinson was selected with his 205th pick in the 6th round, and I'll keep it short and sweet. Another guy that really steps into an opportunity, another guy that Zach and I really loved coming out. He was one of the bigger wide receivers who had really good route running, really good hands, a really good contested catch rate, 6'3", 200 plus pounds that can come in and body somebody. We saw him at the Senior Bowl. You saw him, out of Iowa State, and I think that is really phenomenal for Xavier Hutchinson to go to a team, once again, that can easily beat out a Nico Collins, that can easily be the big body wide receiver here for the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. So this is the way I envision this offense for my last 2 guys. CJ Stroud, obviously quarterback, Tank Dell in the slot, and then Xavier Hutchinson playing that X role over Nico. And as much as once again I love Nico, I think Xavier Hutchinson will get that. And also another guy I did draft in my rookie drafts as well. I drafted Tank Dell and Xavier Hutchinson. Yes, that is right. So once again, guys, Xavier Hutchinson, Tank Dell, Michael Mayer, Jonathan Mingo, all of these guys, and Kayshon Boutte, all of these guys are guys I cannot stop drafting in my rookie drafts. I do believe they're going to be getting opportunities. I do believe their situation really favors them in all different ways. And guys that you could be taking dart throws in the end of the 3rd round, 4th round, and obviously Jonathan Mingo and Michael Mayer in the 2nd round. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of my takes. Tell me what guys you are drafting, and you guys, what players you can't stop drafting in your rookie draft. And as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.